You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. What up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, man, we got an amazing creator / publisher. Homie just went in and he's like, I'm gonna do my own comics. It's high adventure, cosmic horror, pulp fantasy type stuff. My man got an awesome project right now on Kickstarter. Has 19 days to go. He's almost at his goal. So I hopefully after this goddamn podcast, you guys will make him reach his fucking goal, because he's only $200 away from that. This book is called The River of Blood. Oh man, doesn't that sound awesome? This man, again, is a writer, he's a publisher, he's a creator. I'm honored to introduce the one and only Mr. Sean Fahey. What's going on, kiddo? How you doing?
Doing well, man. How are you? That is an insane intro.
Yeah, well, man, because you're insane. You're an insane creator doing some awesomeness. So thank you. You know, let me give you flowers early. Thank you for like sharing your creations out there, putting yourself out there, like to share these amazing stories and creations, and you know, being a bold entrepreneur, if you will, to say, hey, you motherfuckers don't want this. Watch how everybody wants this, and you're proving it. So I love it.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
You are an indie boss. So Sean, man, thank you for hanging out. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from?
So right now I'm living in outside of Washington, D.C., but I've bounced all over. Spent most of my life in Georgia. And Georgia is still home. That's where my wife's family's from. And
what's your favorite food from Georgia?
I love barbecue, dude. So I am a pulled pork, smoked brisket kind of guy.
Epa, bro, I can't wait till we hang out. We're both gonna be fat fucks together.
Nice. Well, I'm already a fat fuck, so
I'm getting there. Wifey don't want to tell me, but I've been looking. I'm like, damn, but I'm starting to grab some more skin than usual.
So that's why you just do from the head up, man. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah,
me, you only see me from here up, because if you see this pipa, as we Puerto Ricans call it, it's a wrap. That's awesome, man. So talk about, man, I want to know your journey, bro. So here you are, this amazing comic book creator, but I always love to get into the origin. So who introduced you to fandom? Well, how did you get introduced? Was it comics? Was it cartoons? Was it movies? And who introduced you?
Yeah, I mean, probably a combination of comics and film. So I grew up reading, Sergeant Rock, Conan, Jonah
Who put those in your hand, though?
What's that?
Who put those in your hand?
Yeah, my dad was kind of a big film. He's a
a daddy. Finally,
That's
everybody
right.
says it was mama. You're one of the few that says it was my papa.
Yeah, my dad is kind of a crusty old Marine who loved war comics, and so I remember getting Sergeant Rock and the Losers and Weird War Tales, and he loved movies too. He loved westerns, particularly. One-Eyed Jacks, Shane, The Wild Bunch.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of my introduction to genre, genre material. Is
genre material. So okay, so through him you discovered this war comics. When did you discover that it was horror and superheroes and all that? Was that on your own or still through him?
Yeah, a little bit through him, and then my mother was big into mysteries and horror films as well, and so got when I was old enough to go to the comic store on my own, started getting my own allowance. Started looking at books that had supernatural elements, like Jonah Hex. So it was kind of the Western with the supernatural element to it as well. Okay. Love the mystery movies. Got into reading Lovecraft. And
I love Lovecraft.
Yeah,
as racist as that motherfucker was, it's some great reading though.
Right, fair enough. Some fascinating stuff. Stephen King, and just kind of. Developed as that, from there, my interest from kind of all over the place. So I had some very imaginative parents that weren't afraid to, expose their kids to some weird shit very early on.
I love it.
I am not making this up. I remember going to see, as a 6-year-old, Conan the Barbarian in the movie theater.
Oh, you saw it in the movies? Lucky you. See, my first movie was at 5, 6 years old as well, but it was the Hell Night with Linda Blair. That's what my parents took me to see. I was watching these crazy ass horror movies and action movies. I remember seeing, all the Rocky, at least 3 and 4. No, what was it? 2 and 3 of the Rocky movies. I remember seeing, what was that? I remember seeing several movies actually with them. In the Rocky movie, though, the one where he fought Clubber, my father got lost in the movie theater.
See, so we both have our parents to blame for us becoming kind of the weird fucks that we are today. So
yes, we are. Yeah, once we had a video store and we finally bought a VCR, my father would finally be like, "Here's $10, rent movies." There were $2 at the time, so it's 5 movies almost every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
I'm like, damn, that was his addiction, and he's like, just make sure you bring me 2 action movies at least.
Right.
Like with a threat, dads. I said, all right, bet, Pop. So always 2 action, but then I always had at least 3 horrors.
But those type of video stores are also, a great education in storytelling, right? So I remember the type of video stores that you're talking about where like
Mom and Pop
for $5, you could walk away with a stack of movies for the weekend. Yes. And then you're seeing new releases, you're seeing classic Westerns, you're seeing classic horror, you're seeing classic, spy movies.
Right. No commercials finally.
Yeah. And so you're kind of learning how to visually tell a story. It's a kind of a crash course in visual storytelling.
Yes, it is. I mean, you develop such a relationship with those people. They were like, hey, this is what we got new. You want these? I mean, that's where I reached to the point when it came to horror. That the lady was like, hey, Alex, this is what we got. I'm like, damn, they know me, but I felt like fucking Norm from Cheers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Ow! Hey, yeah, what do you got new, Rosie?
Yeah, and I miss those kind of relationships with stores. Like, I feel like I walk in a store now and, you're paying for the pleasure of their time.
Of perusing the store and just a nod of the head that they acknowledge that you're a customer.
Right. And it used to be exactly the way that you're talking about. There was the neighborhood video store. In our case, it was Silver Spring before there was even a Blockbuster. And they knew what my dad liked. It was all the spy movies, all the war movies. And it was like, hey, Mr. Fahey, we got 5 new ones for you. And now, like you say, you're lucky if they even notice you walk in through the door.
They even acknowledge you with a fucking head nod. Right?
Right.
The old school 90s shit.
Yeah.
What up, dude? All right. Thank you for coming. Okay. Anyway, so I want to talk about your tribe. When did you find your tribe? Because, here you are, a young nerd that has traveled, obviously, through the States. Because you said you haven't had one home.
Right.
But did you find tribes at every home you were at? Or did it take time to kind of find your people?
I think it happens kind of everywhere that you're at. There's geeks and nerds everywhere, man. And so, you just got to fly your freak flag, be proud of it. And then, like-minded people will
You said freak, your dog went nuts. He goes, how dare you insult us like this?
So, yeah, no, I was I remember growing up. I spent most of my life growing up in a place called Alpharetta, Georgia, which was a kind of a bedroom community for Atlanta. And I had a couple of great friends there that were just genre, just fanatics, horror film, war film.
That was their shit.
Like subscriptions to Fangoria and
me too, bro. Don't
Starlog.
I love that fucking magazine, Fangoria, right. Bro. Let me tell you, my mom had me take down posters because my brothers were terrified. You little punks.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an idea, my best friend up the street, his walls were covered with posters for Pumpkinhead, Rawhead Rex,
too. Yeah,
Swamp Thing.
I had the faceless Jason, no mask Jason. That looked great.
Right. So I found my tribes pretty early on, and just kind of awesome. continue to stay in touch.
Was it easy though when you find your tribe?
Yeah, it was weird. I think. I remember moving to Georgia in 1982, which was like a landmark year for kind of genre and geek stuff. I mean, 82 was the year, to the best of my memory, that was the year that Raiders of the Lost Ark, John Carpenter's The Thing, E.T., and Empire Strikes Back all came out.
Fucking Christ.
like around that
Yeah,
time
yeah.
when I first moved to Georgia. So even kind of the quote unquote jock kids and stuff, everyone loved Empire Strikes Back. Everyone loved Raiders of the Lost Ark.
82 was a good nerdy year. After that,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
You know, and kind of Atari was just kind of taking off,
Look
really
at
taking off there.
Atari, bro. They even got the new VCS now. Shout out to them for
Yeah,
coming
I saw
back.
that. So it was kind of a period where folks that you normally didn't associate as just being kind of the nerdy geeky folks liked a lot of genre type material. And
Right.
so it was easy to find a group of friends that were like-minded around that period of time. I mean, that was just a great year for that type of material, and it went beyond kind of the traditional stereotypes of who would like that material and who wouldn't.
Yeah,
And that's why, I
and
mean, that's why films like The Thing and Raiders are still classics that we watch every year now, because those were such great films that crossed a lot of borders. Yeah.
Because yo, bro, I could watch The Thing over and over and over again. I love that movie, and every time I always find something else to kind of focus on.
Yeah.
Because the first time was that motherfucking spider head. Like, oh shit, that creeped me out as a kid.
Right.
That was my standout. Like, oh shit, like I can't, I would die.
Yeah, and I watched that film again about 2 weeks ago with my eldest son, and it never ceases to amaze me that this is in a period that was decades before CGI. I mean,
Right?
these are all practical effects.
Yes.
And they look better than most of the CGI that we're seeing today.
Preach, my brother. You preach, because I say that shit all the time, Sean. It's like, you know what I mean? There's nothing beats back in the day, those practical special effects.
Right.
The CGI is nice. I'm not dissing that, but it just doesn't look as natural as the practical. I mean, this is why you have those legends like Tom Savini that can make that shit look just insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you bring up the great point in that it's good to strike a balance. And so you look at movies like Dune. I think Dune struck a great balance between.
I love that movie.
Oh, it was fantastic,
wasn't it?
It's such it's such a faithful adaptation.
One of my boys hated that. One shot them out, but they're like, "Oh, I prefer the '84." I'm like, "You are nuts."
Right. But yeah, I mean, you can tell that they went out in the desert and they shot that thing, and you could tell that they built sets, and the CGI complemented that. And it's here's a really weird comment. I think the best use of CGI that I've ever seen is actually David Fincher's Zodiac. And I say that because you don't even notice that he's using it. Like, you need to dig deep into the special features where they talk about it. And so they use the CGI to recreate San Francisco during that period when the case is going on.
Really?
Yeah. And so a lot of those backdrops and cityscapes are actually CGI. And so they use it to complement the narrative and get you into that time period. And it's seamless. You don't even know that they're doing it until you kind of dig deep into the special features. You're like, that entire street was CGI.
Fake? Yeah. I love it. And let's talk about some creativity, brother, because let's talk about your press. What is Blackjack Press? Talk to me about this.
Yeah, so Blackjack Press is my small indie publisher that I started about 10 years ago. I used to do comic book reviews for a pop culture website called chud.com and read a lot of comic books, and just decided at some point that I wanted to do my own stuff. And so Blackjack Press was the start of that. Like, I figured, I had to put my money where my mouth was. I wanted to get something out there. I wanted to have absolute control over it. And I wanted to kind of start slowly with anthologies. Like, I knew I knew that trying to tell the 100-page epic was going to set me up for failure. And that's just me. I'm not saying that people can't do it. Some people have.
Was that based on your experience as a reviewer that you kind of saw that?
No, just kind of knowing my own limitations, like knowing that, hey, you've got a day job, you've got a family, you need to take this in kind of bite-sized chunks, and you need to learn how to crawl before you learn how to walk, and walk before you run. And so the anthology seemed like a good way to kind of start doing that, and have an opportunity to work with several different artists over a short period of time rather than one artist over a long period of time. Work with other writers, get exposed to different styles and different techniques. So I started with a Western series called Tall Tales from the Badlands, which started as a traditional Western anthology, but it soon turned into a Weird West anthology. That seemed to be the most popular stories. The folks that wrote for us were most interested in doing those type of stories, and they became kind of the more, like, I am the biggest geek for the traditional style Western, but writing the Weird West Westerns was a much more interesting process.
In movies, who's your go-to Western guy? And in comics, who's your go-to Western?
So in film, it's John Ford. I mean, I love The Searchers. The Searchers is one of my,
not a name I expected. I salute you, my brother.
Thanks. Yeah, so The Searchers is one of my favorite films. And I love the Calvary trilogy with John Wayne. Nice. And Ford was just a fantastic visual storyteller. I like Sam Peckinpah's films. I love The Wild Bunch. I love Ride the High Country, which I think is probably the most underestimated Western, I think, of all time. It's a genuine classic that few people have really seen or even heard of. And it was one of Peckinpah's first films.
What is it called again?
Ride the High Country.
Ride the High Country. Who's in it?
Randolph Scott and I apologize. I can't remember the name of the other actor. They're kind of two aging Western stars.
Okay.
And the story is kind of about the last ride of these,
like an Unforgiven scale, like that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. And it's got a fantastic ending, and it's just well done. It's not one of these showy type of films that kind of it jumps out at you. It's just very competent, great storytelling with great characters, and just a fantastic ending.
I cannot wait. I'm gonna look at this up and I'm gonna email you. Like, yo, Sean, I saw it. I loved it. Or I disliked it. Or
so you're crazy, man. I'm never gonna have you on the show again. Your taste is horrible.
No, brother. No, absolutely not, bro. Because again, I think if you're West, I love my spaghetti westerns. I'm a big Clint fan. So I mean, if it's along those lines, then I think you're already, thank you for blessing me with something I haven't watched yet.
Yeah, so so Ride the High Country is more along the lines of a John Ford movie than kind of a Sergio Leone movie. It's not hyper stylized violence. It's like you say, it's something. It's closer to Unforgiven. Unforgiven is a very, very good example,
and it's a great movie. I love Unforgiven. I mean, it's just dudes at the end of their day, like, all right, son, let's just what are we gonna do? What are we going to do? And talking about that, man, because what are we doing? Because right now you got an awesome kick-ass Kickstarter. I mean, it is called the River of Blood. I love that name, man.
I was going for a very pulpish kind of Robert E. Howard type angle, kind of, something evocative of Conan the Barbarian. Pulp fantasy, swords and sorcery type stuff, and the River of Blood just kind of stuck out as I was kicking ideas for titles around, and so that's what we ultimately ended up going with.
And look at this, Magnolia-ish, if you will, right here.
I appreciate that
picture.
Yeah. So Carlos,
and I love that.
Yeah. Carlos is he's a fantastic artist, and so he's got a lot of different influences, but Magnolia is definitely one of them.
You know who else? Man, forgive me, but the artist behind Headlopper. Have you read that book?
And Andrew McLean.
Yes. I mean, also that look as well. Andrew, again, I kind of look at him that way, but also I see that Headlopper-ish in it, and I love that fucking book too. I mean, who walks around with a fucking witch's head? You know what I mean? Sick, bro. I love Andrew.
That comic is a lot of fun. There's some great world building going on there.
Yes, it is.
And it's an enjoyable read, man. The dialogue is hilarious. The action is fantastic.
And what I'm happy about is I actually caught on to that before it was on Image. So I got to meet him when it was totally an independent title, and he just did that successful Kickstarter. I saw him at a show in Massachusetts.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, I love fucking Conan, and this is right up my alley. And it truly is. I mean, and this too. I mean, you got swords, sorcery, fucking, I mean, look at this artistry here, the River of Blood. So please talk to us. What is this?
So the River of Blood is what I would call a Viking horror story. It's, if you can imagine the series Vikings and the series Supernatural kind of smashed together and have a
Oh,
bastard love child.
oh my God! It's an orgy of these
It would
genres.
look something like this. And so, kind of the basic premise is that it follows a group of Varangian Guard mercenaries in Constantinople that have to flee the city because their leader has been falsely accused of murder by one of his political rivals. And so,
Ooh.
on their way back up north through the Volga River, which goes through would have been medieval Russia at the time, they come across a settlement that is under siege by some unknown force. Some folks believe it's river pirates. Other folks believe it's supernatural forces on the river. They agreed to help and figure out that the true cause of the evil is far worse and far darker than anyone involved in the book had imagined. And so it's about their journey on the river, how that journey changes them, about it's about courage, about what the true meaning of genuine courage means. Because at the end of the day, these are just ordinary people. These are ordinary men that are facing an extraordinary circumstance, and they need to dig deep inside themselves. They need to revisit their moral compass and their values to figure out how they're going to get their way out of this thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And talk about the formation of this team. How did you find your squad to tell this story?
Yeah, so I had worked with both Carlos and Jacques before. So Carlos did a story.
Jock, shit, nice.
Jacques.
I know Jock. Yep. He follows on Comic Crew for a long time, and I've been aware of the artistry. So I'm like, okay, cool. When I saw him involved, I was like, oh, this is cool. Shit, he was
both of them. Yeah, both of them insanely talented guys, and both of them I had the pleasure of working with before. So
Nice.
Carlos did a story for. Or the second issue of our Tall Tales Western anthology, and also for Dark Matter, which is our science fiction horror anthology. Jacques I had worked with on Sagas of the Northmen, which is our Viking anthology, and then he also did pieces for us in Dark
love
Matter.
them Vikings, kiddo.
Oh, absolutely, man. Honestly, who doesn't love Vikings?
Yeah, but I mean, I got swords up here. They may be Japanese swords, but I'm about to get me a Conan-sized sword and start kicking some ass one day when the zombies come, or when the aliens visit. Whatever happens first.
That's right. Because at some point we're all going to run out of ammunition, and so you need something that's going to stand the test of time, right? And that you're going to be able to get the aliens with when all the bullets are.
But you ain't, bro. I really think that's going to happen one day, bro. Shit. And look at this artistry, though. I'm like in love with it. Look, suitless motherfuckers. There was no dentist back then. This poor guy. He probably got punched in the mouth one too many times for being fresh, But I mean, look at the coloring. Look at the art. I mean, word bubbles. Oh, I mean, this team you've built here.
Yeah, no, very lucky. And then you mentioned the word bubbles as well. So the letterer too is someone that we've worked with for a long time, Kel Nuttall, who's been with us really from the beginning, from Tall Tales #1 all the way up to River of Blood. And he really knows his stuff. The thing I like about Kel is that he allows the artist, he gives them the space to allow.
He knows word bubble placement.
Yeah. He gives them the space they need to make the art work.
Yes.
And so much of, I'm not sure how far into the book you've gotten, but so much, like so much of the artwork relies on shadows, silhouettes, and kind of subtle visual cues. And so Kel is very good at making sure that the artists have the space they need in order to do that. Because as you know, horror is difficult in comic books. We don't control the pacing the way that a filmmaker would be able to do. The folks can kind of come and go as they want, and there's no jump scares there. So you need to kind of visually get inside people's heads and toy with the imagination. And so Carlos and Jacques were very good at that in terms of creating images that leave folks wondering what's going on beyond the shadows. And Kel was very good about making sure he didn't get in their way and gave them the space they needed to convey that imagery.
Agreed. I spoke with the great Janice Chang, and she was talking about those word placement bubbles. You know what I mean? Where you placement that way that the artist could shine. and I see that. So homie comes from the school of Janice. That's great. I see it. I mean, this is a greatly looking produced book. The art looks dope, vicious
No, I
at
appreciate
that.
that, man. I appreciate that.
And then I mean, again, and the lettering you said. I mean, knowing how to use it properly, and the story flow. I mean, look at this creative team here. You know what I mean, bro? You've done several things with it. Legendary DC. Sorry, I mean, bro, how do you feel about your journey? What was the first taste of your journey like? What was the first big story you ever did, and how did you feel when you finally landed it?
Yeah. So the kind of the first big thing was getting Tall Tales #1 out. And so, having that first comic book, holding that in my hands and saying, hey, I
Saying
put
your name
together a
on it,
team.
right?
Yeah, I put together a team. I wrote a couple of stories. I contacted people over the internet, and
Nice.
we met and we worked together and we put this thing together. And now we're moving on to the second one. So that, in some ways, to be honest, nothing will ever top that. That realization that, hey, you can do it. If you just roll up your sleeves, put your nose to the grindstone and just stay
Literally.
diligent. Yeah, you can
Get her done.
Get her done. Get her done. Just send it, right? And so that was probably probably the best moment, if you will. But there's been some other highlights as well. I've been lucky to be part of some other folks' anthologies as well, to include To End All Wars, which was a World War I anthology that got nominated for an Eisner. Great
Ooh.
team
How'd
on
you
that
feel
one.
about that, man? I mean, even the word even Eisner associated with your name, like,
Yeah,
whoa.
no, it was cool. And they very good editors on that project that let me tell the story that I wanted to tell.
Shout out to good editors, man.
Yeah,
For real. Because there's not many of them. They act too bougie. Thank you for those that actually allow creative freedom.
that's right. But also, at the same time, creative freedom, but very good feedback in terms of helping me tell the story I wanted to tell. Recognizing what I wanted to accomplish and helping me get there.
Yeah, guided in the right. Of course, man. Creative freedom with little hey. Maybe you did this. It's fine, but it's still creative freedom.
Right.
What I mean, I've seen a lot of creators some kind of lose their grasp on their creations because they allow editorial to control so much of the story. And as a creator, I mean, then are you really the creator?
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So make sure that you hold your own, guys. Everyone,
That's
like
right.
hold me here, like do your thing. You listen when it's important to listen. Otherwise, tell your story. I love it, man. Because I'm sharing the page here. You're not too far away from reaching the goal, right?
Right.
So right now we're only again $200 away with 19. I mean, dude, when people just take a look at this just on this video, they're gonna fall in love. I mean, this is beautiful art. This looks fantastic, and I mean, you could get on the cheap. I mean, $5, $25. I mean, and look at the things you get. So talk about that. Talk about the little extras we'll get, depending on what we pitch in on over here. Oh man,
Yeah.
oh,
So
look how
you bring up
dope. Oh my god, bro.
you brought up a great point in terms of kind of our lowest reward tier, $5. So for $5, a complete copy of the book, and so it's an
Oh
86 pages standalone.
$5, 86 pages for $5.
Yep. So
That's a
$5 will
bargain,
get you
folks. You hear that shit?
$5 will get you a complete copy of the book. And so
Wow.
the reward tiers go from there all the way up to what is our final bundle, which is the sketch bundle. And so the sketch bundle includes digital and signed print copies of all of our books, as
Oh my
well as
god.
a original sketch by Carlos of
Hey,
your
really?
likeness as a Viking.
So Al Mega could be a Viking, bro? For real? I mean,
Al,
I got the beard for that already.
it'd be perfect. It'd be perfect. Al could be a Viking. Al could be a Viking.
Oh shit, man! I'll be like the Boricua Thor or some shit, bro. It's a rap. I love it.
Yeah,
I
so we
love it.
wanted to make sure we tried to accommodate all budgets and all tastes, and as well as throw in a little something extra in there for folks that wanted that kind of that original artwork, that kind of unique experience
It's
as part of the
beautiful, man.
process.
I think you did a fantastic job with doing that. Everything is absolutely affordable for real fans of comics. I mean, you're gonna get a shitload of amazing stuff. I mean, a great investment and a wonderful independent. And I love this cover, man. Fuck,
It's insane. Isn't that great?
yo, that shit is so fire, bro. Who is this?
So is it Marcelo Basile?
Wow, where do you find homie, bro? That shit is.
I find these folks. I do a lot of portfolio reviews online. Uh, you just different artist sites post. I always post solicitations for all of our jobs on our Facebook
Nice.
pages,
Oh, you
and
do.
yeah,
And oh man, and folks, there you go. Let me share that too, because this is what's great about homie Sean. He knows what it is to lock down your goddamn social media presence. Blackjack Press on all the social media platforms. Very easy to find.
and so yeah, so that's how, to answer your question, that's how we find people. We post solicitations for all of our
Okay.
jobs on our social media.
So when you say jobs, I mean, what type of jobs are we posting? I mean, everything across the spectrum from writers, artists, colorists,
Yes,
letterers,
absolutely.
everything.
Writers,
Nice.
artists, inkers, colorists, letters. Now, when it comes to letters, I've stuck with the same guy from the beginning, and I'm going to continue to stick with him. Kel's my good luck charm. But every job we do, we solicit.
Excellent. Wow. So you gotta stay alert, folks. Check out. So if they follow you, they'll be get a notification and know
Yep,
when you're actually looking for some new talent out there.
absolutely.
Folks, man, again, you see this? I haven't had an independent press like you like that has said like, yo, we always putting out advertisement for jobs. Like, yo, step in. We'll test you. So what's the turnaround when somebody wants to submit some type of information? Like, what are the steps you're looking for them to take when they submit to you?
So with respect to writers, I've posted solicitations in the beginning, but kind of most recently, it's been direct solicitation. At this point, we're kind of
Okay.
we've stepped away a little bit from the anthology model, and the last anthology we did was all kind of direct solicitation.
Okay.
With respect to artists, though, I I post kind of a general description of the project, as well as a pay rate range. And because I'm always willing to work with folks that I might be slightly out of their range, but can make some things happen to get to a particular artist. But so try and post a range,
Yeah.
and then links to our social medias that have contact information with the other artists that we work with, so folks can get in touch with other artists and say, hey, is this Sean Fahey guy? Is he crazy? Is he okay to work with? I want to allow, I want to allow people to do their research before coming to
Do
work
your
for us.
homework. If you think I'm nuts, don't fuck with me. But know what? I'm here for you because I see that. I mean, you're here. You put in public blast. You're sharing it and wanting independent creators to come on. I already see you doing God's work here, bro. You're doing good things, man. God bless for real. It's amazing for you to want to share in your journey with others. That's something that's very special. Whether people don't understand it or not, I mean, that is what I have a great team that I share my journey with, and I'm blessed to have them. So when you want to put your brand out there and yourself out there, want to share that with others, that's a very special thing. So kudos on you for wanting to do that and just doing it publicly instead of just trying to pick and choose people at random. Like, yo, I would love to work with you. No, you putting it out there and letting everybody put them to the test. Like, yo, you want to work? Let's do it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's you and I have both been there before, wanting to do books and trying to figure out how to do it. And so, I found myself in a position of trying to be someone that practices what I preach. And so if I've got opportunities to hire people, I want to make those opportunities as widespread as possible. Everyone's always asking the questions, how do I get work? How do I break in? How do I get involved? And so I try to
Get
spread the
involved.
word.
That's step
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Get involved. Put your foot out there. Don't be afraid. And especially when you see a blast from Sean talking about, hey, we have some awesome projects on Blackjack Press that we're looking for some talent for. Don't be shy and say, hey, Sean, check this out. Check out my work. Check out my lettering. Although, listen, you're gonna have to convince the shit out of him for lettering, but apparently, but if you're a good artist or a good writer, or a colorist, like, reach out. You may have a wonderful opportunity with this amazing independent press that has a kick-ass Kickstarter. That, I mean, shit, you still have 19 days to go, and you're way past that
Yeah,
halfway
so
point. It's
just
beautiful.
just to piggyback on that last comment, in terms of solicitations in art. So we will be sending out something in the new year, for our next
Hey,
graphic novel. So I just finished the first draft of the next graphic novel, which is called Devil Country, which is a weird
Devil
west.
Country. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
it's a weird war tale that takes place in 1942 in the North African desert, and
Oh fuck!
yeah.
Really? Hey,
So it
because
is. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So
it
it's
sounds
about a
so
bunch of.
naughty and dirty and crazy already. Holy shit!
Well, we
1942.
talked about the thing earlier. Okay, so imagine a bunch of British commandos in North Africa, trapped in an underground tomb in a remote part of Egypt during a violent sandstorm, and so you've got the beginnings of what Devil Country is going to be about.
Oh my god, bro! All these shit. All right, bro. Okay. Um, Well, can I send you my credit card too? I'm digging it already. I fucking love it, bro. You have a sick mind. Now I understand why. As soon as you message me, I was like, hell yeah, I'm talking to fucking homie, because my man is like, he's after my heart here with the type of shit that you produce. I am so digging it. God bless you on this stuff for real, bro. I mean, like I said, I always like to share flowers. So thank you for putting yourself out there and sharing all that amazing content, bro. I mean,
Yeah,
it takes a
and
special kind
Al,
of person to do that. You know what I mean?
yeah, no,
So thank
and
you.
thank you for what you do. When I was looking at your site, I saw you do podcasts with folks from all levels of comic books. From the indie to the majors, and I really appreciate that your site gives the small press and the indie creators a shot. I was watching your podcast with Matt Smith from a couple of weeks ago. Barbarian Lord is one of my favorite comics, and as you know, Matt is now doing Hellboy. And
Yes,
so,
yeah, yeah.
I love that you had people like that on. You talk about the experience, like the indie, and now the doing the
Yeah,
major stuff.
that's
So
what we love to do, man, because comics is so vast, right? And the whole thing is that, you indie guys are the people that become those A-listers later on anyway. You know what I mean? It's only a matter of time in the journey. So, Sean, you got Blackjack Press, but I could see you one day, like all of a sudden, you doing some shit on Marvel or DC, or even Image or something. If you had a choice, what is your dream character to write?
man, so um I love Jonah Hex. I love Conan. I love Sergeant Rock. But like, to be honest, one of my favorite comic books was Darwin Cook's New Frontier,
Oh,
and
beautiful fucking book.
yeah, and so I got exposed at that point to the challengers of the unknown, who I hadn't
Mm.
really followed up until that point. And so after that, I ordered the old showcase editions by Jack
Don't
Kirby,
you
and
love those?
absolutely. And so that premise of four dudes who are on an airplane that crashed, they all know that they should have died. They meet back at that spot 1 year after the crash and decide they're all living on borrowed time. And so they are going to become, and these are four regular dudes. None of them have any kind of powers.
Not
You got a
special at all.
motorcycle daredevil, you got a pilot, you got a
They're cool
scientist.
dudes, but they ain't
Right.
special.
And they're like, hey, we should be dead already. So let's just dedicate our lives to fighting the freaky shit that's out there. I love that premise. And it's if your question was, if I could work on someone else's IP, what would it be? And I think it would be the Challengers of the Unknown.
Nice, nice, nice. I have my friends on ICC. Like, this is like Fantastic Four era type shit. This is who they are. You know what I mean? And then you start introducing the lady after the fact for a while. You know what I mean? Teams change, and I agree with you. You know, that's a very underrated team.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that should have had a show a long time ago, even on TV, because
Yeah.
it's an
I mean,
adventure show.
yeah. It's
End of
to
the day.
me, I mean, who knows what's going to happen now, you know, with HBO Max, and you know, they're doing the Peacemaker show, and I know that I read that
Yeah.
Colin Farrell, who's doing the Penguin for the next Batman, he's going to get a show. So obviously
Oh
HBO
damn!
is getting interested in doing that
And
type
we're
of
getting some
story.
X-Men '97.
You're
Oh
right.
shit! Hey,
Yeah.
my God, yo,
So
right?
you know, it could be just a matter of time before folks realize, hey, we could do a Challenger show, and it wouldn't be that expensive.
It
You know,
wouldn't. It would be hella fun and an
yeah,
alternative to F4, which obviously was under so much turmoil for so many years with
right.
licensing and who has what rights and shit. You know, I think that's what made F4 lose steam. I don't know if you could agree with that, but it kind of made it lose steam. Like people got tired of waiting for a real F4 movie. I mean, I still want it, but
Right.
do I want it that much as I wanted it before? And not even mention Challenges of the Unknown, which is kind of almost on that level, but much more fucking fun because they're
Right.
still random dudes, not super powered.
Yeah.
You know,
So
excellent, bro.
what about you, man? If you could work on someone else's IP, what's your dream job?
Me, I'm gonna work on White Tiger, my Puerto Rican superhero, and definitely give him some backstory. Give him something that actually means something instead of him just like I hate the origin story. I would try to revamp that a little bit because I hate the origin story fact that the sons of the dragon threw their emerald out, and this Puerto Rican happened to be walking down the alley, picked it up, puts it on his neck. He has it's a white suit. Oh, I'm gonna call myself White Tiger, mind you. Puerto Rico never had a white tiger. That's not something even indigenous to our fucking country. So it's like, why are you even calling this Puerto Rican hero White Tiger? You feel me? So
Oh
I'll
yeah.
try to fix that. Yes, make somehow, hopefully, help it make sense to be called White Tiger.
Right. Right. I
But I
like
would
it.
try to fix that. For real, because let's make it more real. Because if everybody's all about that real shit, let's fix my shit too, please.
Absolutely. Right.
I love it. But bro, you're awesome, bro. I love the book. Fuck, you seen it, yo? The River of Blood. The fucking title, bro. Yo, if you had a choice before we go, action, live action movie or animated for this?
Live action.
You want like? Oh, okay. He responded so fast. Who's the actor? Who's the
So
lead?
you're gonna love this. Like I think this would be perfect sci-fi channel movie. Dolph Lundgren
Oh
plays
shit!
Wolfgar.
I love this man right now. Motherfucker said yes, real quick. Already knows who he wants to cast and what motherfucking network. This is a man with a fucking plan. I
I
love it.
try.
Yes, yes, and yes. Yes. Bro, you put it out to the world. Sci-fi, you heard it. It came from his mouth to God's ears, yo. Let's make Dolph. I know you need work.
I'll make sure you get front row seats, Al.
Oh, bro, I'll be there fucking screaming and hollering my weapons just for you. I promise.
Awesome.
Yo, bro, I love it. This is, see, you inspire me. The way that no one has ever answered that so quickly.
I get it's the movie's playing in my head right now, man.
I love it because you believe in what you're doing. You're that passionate about it. Again, thank you for taking those steps forward. To do what you do over here. You know what I mean? It's real. So thank you. So again, folks, I want to show you one last time before we go. The Kickstarter. Check it out. The River of Blood from Blackjack Press. All right. Visit them. Facebook, Instagram, everything. They got it all. It's all Blackjack Press. All right. But also check them out on Drive Through Comics, which is the great place to get independent comics. Yo, for real. I mean, Comixology is great. Shout out to Comixology. But yo, Drive Through gives a chance to certain presses that Comixology may not. So, check them out right here. Blackjack Press through the Drive Through. Awesome stuff. And if you want some sexy swag, hey, you go to the Indie Planet print shop, and you can find a whole bunch of amazing stuff there. Sean, you're an absolutely amazing guest and creator. Is there anything I left out that people need to be aware of before we go?
I think we covered everything. I sincerely appreciate your time. And again, like I was saying before, I scrolling through your podcast, watching some of them. You give everyone a shot, man. You want to talk to the indie press folks. You want to talk to the small press creators. You don't discriminate, and I love that, man.
Thank you.
You have a great site and a great product, and thank you for everything that you do, man.
Oh man, thank you for those kind words. I appreciate that. And I guess you see what we're doing. It's all about the celebration of amazing people like yourself that are putting yourselves out there to share in your products and your individual, creations. And like, hey, I'm here too. Listen, DC and Marvel are fantastic. Don't hate on them. But the world is full of amazing people like you creating such amazing indie product that fills a purpose. Like, hey, you want to motherfuckers complain, DC, Marvel, people like Sean that's making things you may actually enjoy a whole lot more. Truth. All right.
Thanks,
and so
brother.
With that, man, that's the facts. Well, Sean, thank you. Folks, I told you what to do. You know what it is. I'm Omega, and I'm out. Hasta la próxima, mi gente. ¡Huepa! Ahí que están. Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.com and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.